Hey guys, what's up? So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about blood work and how it relates to a keto diet. I'm going to cover a quick disclaimer, why you should get regular bloods, what bloods to test, and interpreting the results. So quick disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. This content does not constitute medical advice. This content is for general information and discussion, and always seek medical advice from a qualified medical practitioner. So now that that's out of the way, why you should get regular blood work done. Well, first and foremost is validation. You want to know that what you're doing is working. And it's all well and good to read about the reported benefits of doing something in a book or on the internet or hearing it from somebody else. But I don't know about you, but I like facts, not speculation, and I like to know that things are actually working or if they're not. So firstly is validation. Second is early warning. Okay, getting regular blood work done, certainly as you age, enables you to identify any potential issues, which would then enable you to implement mitigation strategies to potentially either reverse anything that's happening that is not good, or to prevent that thing from happening in the first place. And lastly, to monitor progress. So if you have identified a potential issue and you've made changes in your lifestyle, in your diet, in your exercise protocol, or things that you're doing, well then you want to be able to monitor progress and see that things are improving. So they're the three primary reasons that I think you should get blood work done regularly. Which bloods to test? Okay, with regards to a ketogenic diet, one of the main reasons that you go on a keto diet is hormone and lipid profile optimization. So therefore, it stands to reason that the two primary blood tests that you want done are hormonal and lipid profile. We're going to go through now and let me just go back there. Bring up my hyperlink. Okay. So what I've got here is a list of the 17 primary bloods that I like to get done on a regular basis, and that's every 3 to 6 months. So this table here, which we're going to run through quickly, okay, we've got the first column, which is just a serial. We've got the marker or the blood test itself. You can see I had this done in May this year. I'd been on keto, I'm still in keto, but for 9 months. And then what the corresponding reference range is for each of those respective bloods. So I'm just going to run through these. Now these are just what I like to test. You may want to add or subtract from this list. So firstly, triglycerides. So what are triglycerides? They are just the main constituent of human body fat. Total cholesterol. So total cholesterol is a sum of your HDL, which is your high density lipoprotein, which is the so-called good cholesterol, your low density lipoprotein, which is the so-called bad cholesterol, and it also includes 20% of your triglyceride reading. So I know that sounds like it's a bit much, but they're the three components of total cholesterol: HDL, LDL, and 20% of your triglycerides. So then obviously we've got HDL-C. Okay, so that's your HDL calculated, or your HDL cholesterol. Okay, you've then got HDL-P, which relates to HDL particle number. So within your HDL, your LDL, you've also got VLDL, very low density lipoproteins. You've got IDL, which is intermediary. You have different particles. You've got small, you've got medium-sized particles, large particles, and primarily they focus on small and large particles. So the HDL-P number is in reference to particle size. You have LDL, which is low-density lipoprotein, C, which is your total LDL. You've then got LDL-P, which is your LDL particle number. And I'm just going to talk a little bit more about LDL-P because that's one of the big ones. That's most of your cholesterol is made up of, or is comprises LDL, and that's the one that we want to look at, especially with regards to a ketogenic diet. So what you'll find usually happens on a ketogenic diet is triglycerides will go down, which is a good thing. HDL, your good cholesterol, will usually go up, and therefore your triglyceride to HDL ratio, which we'll talk about later, will actually improve. But total cholesterol can go up. So on the surface, and with a standard blood test, standard cholesterol test, basically that will just tell you total cholesterol, HDL and LDL, and it might tell you your HDL-LDL ratio, and that's it. So if you get a total cholesterol return, like what I've got over here of 220, you go to the reference range and you go, wow, your cholesterol's high. Okay, but there is so much more to it than that, and what they focus primarily on is LDL, because that's the so-called bad cholesterol. So when we look at LDLP, which is what we really want to know, because that is what tells us about the size of the LDL particles, also known as subfractions. Okay, because on the surface, a high LDL number can be interpreted as bad, but when you dig a couple layers beneath the surface, which is what you really need to do for accurate interpretation, it doesn't necessarily mean that your elevated LDL is a bad thing, certainly on a ketogenic diet, because quite often that's what will happen. Your LDL will go up. So LDL can be broken down into, broadly speaking, small, dense particles or light, fluffy, buoyant particles. Now, the small, dense particles are known as pattern B, and they are generally considered to be the bad ones, because they're the ones that can clog up the arterial wall and lead to arteriosclerosis. In contrast, the pattern A particles, which are your light, fluffy, buoyant particles, are relatively innocuous. Okay, they're harmless. So what you will find most of the time on a ketogenic diet is someone will have an elevated LDL result, but their LDLP will have a very small number of the pattern B, small dense particles, which is a good thing, and the pattern A, the light, fluffy, buoyant, good particles, will be high. Okay, so that's really important to understand and to interpret when looking at an LDL score. Moving down, we have LPIR, that's lipoprotein insulin resistance score. Okay, so that tells you whether you are insulin resistant or insulin sensitive. Here you have this serial 8, small LDLPs, that's what I was talking about before, they're the bad ones, pattern B, so you want those numbers to be low. Here, serial 9, LDL size, so that's your pattern A, that's the good ones. We then have your triglyceride to HDL-C ratio. So that's simply your triglyceride number divided by your HDL-C number. So the gold standard is a 1:1 ratio, with up to 1:3 being good. 3:5 is the cutoff and is a marker of insulin resistance, which is bad. Okay, serial 11 here, okay, that's our HbA1c, so that is an indicator of your glucose or blood sugar control over the last 3 months. With the range less than 5.6, 5.8 is pre-diabetic. So that all of those constitute pretty much your lipid profile. HbA1c is a general marker. It's not really classified as a lipid or hormonal. But then moving into the hormonal profiles, okay, obviously we have testosterone. We have free testosterone. We have SHBG, which is sex hormone binding globulin. And I'm just going to talk about these three for a minute. So testosterone is total testosterone. That's the total amount of circulating testosterone you have in your body. You then have free testosterone, okay, which is basically free testosterone and SHBG are inextricably linked. Sex hormone binding globule is like a little transporter that carries testosterone around your body and deposits it to where your body needs it. Now, if SHBG is binding to that testosterone and is not sharing it, is not releasing it, okay, well then your free testosterone is going to be low and your SHBG is going to be high. So what can end up happening is you can have a high testosterone level, but you can have low free testosterone. And that can be associated with a lot of the negative detrimental effects of low testosterone. So that's what that is. Luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, okay, both hormones stimulated by the pituitary gland, which tell the testes to produce testosterone. Okay, so obviously we want these to be at a nice healthy range. And then we have CRP, which is C-reactive protein. So C-reactive protein is a marker of systemic inflammation. With the lower the number, the better. So what we find on a traditional high carbohydrate, low fat diet, when we look at most of these, is triglycerides are high. Okay, your HDL, your good cholesterol, is low. Your LDL, the bad cholesterol, is high. Your triglyceride to HDL ratio is skewed. Okay, your HbA1c can generally be high. A lot of people, especially athletes, people that train a lot, they think they're doing the right thing, but they're consuming a lot of carbs. Okay, can have a high HbA1c. Remember, HbA1c is an indicator of your blood sugar or glucose control over the last 3 months. A lot of people are actually pre-diabetic and they don't even know it. And your CRP can be elevated, which again is systemic inflammation because carbohydrates, by their very nature, are pro-inflammatory. So they're the main markers or tests, lab work that I like to get done, which I hope has been somewhat useful. So that's it in summary. We spoke about why you should get regular blood work done, what bloods to test, or the ones that I like to test, and we've gone through a brief overview on how to interpret the results. So I hope you found this video useful and this information useful. If you've got any questions, reference the ketogenic diet or training, shoot me a DM. All the best.